Welcome to the Fate Spun channel, a place where every story will make you feel, wonder, and hold your breath. Are you ready? Then go ahead. Story number 1. The $1,000 lesson that changed my life. Life is full of lessons, but the best ones often come when we least expect them. I learned mine at the most unexpected place, a car repair shop. It all started with a grinding noise coming from my car. At first I ignored it, thinking it was just a minor issue. But as the noise grew louder, I knew I had to do something. Reluctantly, I drove to a local mechanic, prepared for the worst. The mechanic, a gruff but kind older man named Joe, took a quick look and told me the repair would cost $1,000. I felt my heart drop. As a college student scraping by on part-time jobs, I couldn't afford it. Seeing my despair, Joe leaned closer and said, "Son, I'm going to give you a tip that'll save you thousands in your lifetime. Learn how to do the basics yourself. If you don't, every problem, no matter how small, will cost you." I didn't think much of his advice at the time. I just wanted my car fixed. But after paying the hefty bill and leaving the shop, his words kept ringing in my ears. Over the next few weeks, I found myself watching YouTube videos on car maintenance, reading forums, and even asking friends who were car savvy for pointers. The next time my car made a weird noise, I diagnosed the issue myself. A loose belt. A quick trip to the auto store, and I had it fixed for $30. Another time, my check engine light came on. Instead of panicking, I borrowed an OBD scanner from a friend, identified the problem, and fixed it for under $50. In a year, I calculated that I had saved over $2,000 by handling minor repairs and maintenance myself. But it wasn't just the money. Learning these skills gave me confidence and a sense of independence. One day, I decided to visit Joe to thank him. When I told him how his advice had changed my life, he chuckled and said, "That's what we call a life pro tip, kid. Pass it on." So here I am, sharing Joe's wisdom. Sometimes the best advice isn't about shortcuts, but about taking the time to learn, grow, and take control. And trust me, it's worth every second. Story number 2, the dilemma of love and loyalty. From the moment I met Ethan and Mia, I knew they were special people in my life. Ethan had been my best friend since college, loyal, funny, and someone I trusted with my life. Mia, his fiancée, was a ray of sunshine who lit up any room she walked into. Over the years, they became my second family. But everything changed one evening when Ethan showed up at my apartment unannounced. His eyes were red, his shoulders slumped, and he looked utterly broken. "She cheated on me," he said, his voice barely a whisper. I froze. Mia? Sweet, loving Mia? I couldn't believe it. Ethan explained how he had found messages on her phone, messages that left no room for doubt. He had confronted her, and she admitted it, apologizing profusely and begging for forgiveness. "What should I do?" Ethan asked me, desperation in his eyes. I didn't know how to respond. On one hand, Ethan was my best friend, and I wanted to support him. On the other hand, Mia had been like a sister to me. I didn't want to condemn her without understanding her side of the story. Against my better judgment, I reached out to Mia. We met at a cafe, and she was a mess. Tear-streaked face, shaking hands, and an overwhelming sense of guilt. She explained that it had been a one-time mistake, a moment of weakness during a difficult patch in their relationship. She swore she still loved Ethan and would do anything to make it right. Now I was stuck between two people I cared deeply about. Ethan was furious I had talked to Mia, seeing it as a betrayal of our friendship. Mia, on the other hand, begged me to help her convince Ethan to give their relationship another chance. For weeks, I was trapped in the middle, juggling my loyalty to Ethan with my compassion for Mia. They both leaned on me, confiding their pain and frustrations. It was exhausting and emotionally draining. Eventually, I realized I couldn't fix their relationship for them. They needed to make their own decisions. I told Ethan that, while I'd always have his back, he needed to figure out what he truly wanted, whether it was to forgive Mia or to move on. And I told Mia that she had to take full responsibility for her actions and respect Ethan's choice, whatever it might be. In the end, Ethan decided to end things with Mia. It wasn't an easy decision, and it took him months to heal. Mia moved away, and I lost touch with her. Ethan and I are still friends, but our bond feels different now, strained as if something irrevocable has changed. I learned a hard lesson from the experience. No matter how much you care about people, you can't solve their problems for them. Sometimes all you can do is offer support and let them navigate their own path. Story number 3, the PTO backfire. At 29, I'd been working as a project manager for a mid-sized marketing firm. The work was intense, the deadlines unrelenting, but I genuinely loved the challenge. Until they hired a new manager, Greg. Greg was the type of boss who believed in maximum efficiency and rules above all. He micromanaged every task and had a notorious reputation for denying employees their paid time off, PTO, for even the most legitimate reasons. "We don't have time for vacations during crunch periods," he'd bark, even though crunch periods were constant. One day I found myself burned out. I hadn't taken a vacation in over a year. I decided enough was enough and submitted a formal PTO request for a week off. Greg predictably denied it, citing an upcoming client presentation. Frustrated but undeterred, I reread the employee handbook and discovered an interesting clause. If PTO requests were denied, unused vacation days would automatically roll over to the next year and be paid out in full, if not used by the end of that year. Cue malicious compliance. I stopped requesting PTO altogether. Instead, I documented every denied request from my team and me. I calculated that if I saved my days and rolled them over to the next year, I'd accumulate enough paid leave to nearly match a month's salary. Meanwhile, Greg continued his usual antics, pushing the team harder while morale plummeted. Employees started leaving one by one. By the end of the year, I had racked up 22 unused vacation days. When the new year rolled around, I submitted my PTO requests all at once, nearly a month off. Greg predictably denied all of them again. That's when I emailed HR, attaching my detailed documentation of denied PTO requests and citing the handbook's clause. HR wasn't pleased, especially since other employees had started following my lead. They informed Greg that he was violating company policy and issued an ultimatum: approve the time off or pay out the accumulated days in full. Greg begrudgingly approved my leave, but by that point, I had already decided to leave the company. I spent my final month taking leisurely walks, enjoying long lunches, and reflecting on how sweet malicious compliance could be. As for Greg, word eventually got out that his practices had caused a wave of resignations and cost the company a small fortune in PTO payouts. He was quietly replaced a few months later. Sometimes following the rules to the letter is the best way to beat the system. Thank you for watching the video. Subscribe to the channel, like it, and don't forget to leave a comment. See you in the next video. Good luck!